Hi there, Marty here. It's been quite a while since I made a last video, video. Cheers, I'm drinking Bavaria White 0%, zero sugar. And yeah, I thought it was time to show my face again. Maymeister, Alan Stewart, actually asked me how to get FMTowns running on Launchbox. And I figured I'd show him that there are emulators for it, that RetroArch doesn't, to my knowledge, do it yet, support it yet. But you can actually have RetroArch have Launchbox run with other emulators. So I actually showed a little video, showed a little clip, loaded that before, just for Alan, and I figured, well, let's show them all. And in this video, I'll show you how I integrated the one of these FMTown Marty emulators, and I'll show you how some of these games actually run with the emulator, what is needed to get the games to run properly, and I'll also show you some other games that I've configured on Launchbox. And it's all running on my small little Dell Optiplex. No, Inspiron, not Optiplex, Inspiron. My little red Dell, which used to run with an i7 2600 non-K, but I've actually managed to upgrade that to a 3770 i7, which is a generation up. And for some reason, my system, which is just 2 weeks younger than Elise's, is capable of running the i7 3770, whereas Elise's system doesn't accept that same processor. It has the same motherboard, but it doesn't, and the same BIOS, but it just doesn't accept the processor. So actually, she's running her system with my i7 2600 because she had an i5. So basically, she gets a little upgrade as well, but this actually is all running on an i7 3700 Dell Optiplex, i7 third generation, 4 cores, 8 threads, and a GTX 1660 Super. That runs in my Inspiron, but only because I exchanged it for a proper power supply, because the power supply that the Dell provides might be a bit weak to have, it doesn't have the oomph for the extra power on the graphics card. But yeah, enough waffleage. I'll just cut to the video that I shot. Thing is, the reason why I wasn't making videos was actually that I made a New Year's resolution of some sorts that I would up the quality of my videos a fair bit, and well, I just didn't have it in me to just put the time in to have better quality video. So basically, after about a month and a half, I figured, well, you know, just low quality video. That's how I roll. So yeah, that's how I roll. So more videos will be coming up probably, but not in a high quality that I imagined it would be for 2022. Hi. Let's roll the video. The wife is home. Okay, I've managed to integrate Fujitsu FMTowns Marty into Launchbox. I'm using this emulator, Towns Emu. And there's a GUI version and there's a command line version. I'll show you where I've put the emulator and which commands I'm using. So this is the Towns emulator. I'm calling this the command line interface, and these are the command line parameters that I'm using. Sadly, it's hard-coded, so this is where my Launchbox drive is, and this is where the ROM files, the system files for the Towns Emu are located. A CMOS file is indicated. The window is maximized, it auto scales, and then CD allows you to load in a Q file. So this is what is set in the emulator screen. And I've imported a bunch of Q files, bin Q files. All the CDs are in bin Q format. So Galaxy Force. And if you have an Xbox 360 controller or some other controller, you'll notice that it actually is supported by this emulator. You can probably put it to full screen, but I'm not. I'm just going to show you a couple of games. So, Galaxy Force, which is quite a nice 3D shooter. And basically, the FMTowns is pretty much like a PC. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's show you some other files, other games. So, Image Fight is also a shooter. Item Corporation. Sugaru. Sadly, there's no trilinear scaling, so you have some issues with shimmering. I'll show you some other games. I believe this is a shooter as well. Now, mind you, this system is actually capable of running Windows 3.1, and even Windows 95 was available for this system. So I guess it's like 2 games. And the system is configured very nicely. It just boots the games from the CD. Panther Software Corporated. Oh, it's some sort of virtualized Golden Panther. Q2 Sortie. Oh, well, let's stop. So there's quite a few VGA capable shooters on this system. A lot of these games. Well, if you have any seizure issues, you might not want to watch this video. Q U Tiger. Oh wow, Towns OS version. Yeah, it's very fascinating how a lot of these systems, these PC systems from Japan, range from PCs to almost Amiga-like systems. Nice music. So yeah, there's a ton of nice nice games out there for it. I can make that bigger. Shooting Town, Wolfhide, Viewpoint. Yeah. So basically, I guess this system with an Intel processor is more or less like a Neo Geo type game start. I guess it's very similar to the Neo Geo version. Yeah. Oh. Oh, I played this so much. I actually wonder how compatible these systems were with regular PC. SimCity, Outrun, Turbo Outrun, there's a ton of games. Now, if you want to know why it actually pays to register for Launchbox, I'll show you. Because you'll get BigBox. It takes a while to boot, but BigBox actually is a front end that you can actually totally control with your gamepad. So it actually works pretty well with set-top arcade systems. So yeah, Atari 2600. Oh, I might need to configure the gamepad. Let me see. Options, and then general. No. There's some controller. Enable game controllers, and if you move back, then there's actually they're supported. So yeah, Atari 2600 is on this system. Commodore 64 variants. The FMTowns Marty that I've just Xbox even, GameCube, Dreamcast, Genesis, PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and PS Portable, and then Super Nintendo. So yeah. Let's check out a Fujitsu and a MS Town game. You'll see that it scrapes a lot of the screens and the covers. Let me see, Megamorph. Highly advanced. This is an action shooter. So let's play. I have to get the mouse out of the way. There is probably some way to set it to full screen automatically. It's quite funny how the FMTowns actually uses an MSX mouse instead of a Geo mouse, or a COM mouse, what we know from. These are 90s full motion video files. I'm not sure. Let's get out of there. So, Marble Madness. Let's play it. Nice CD quality music. think I would have loved to have one of these systems back in the day. It's much more convenient than the old PC I had back in the day, you know, with various CD-ROM drivers and MS-DOS config. And you could actually do that with this system as well, because there is Windows 95 on it. Yeah, but this is just proper CD audio. So, yeah, great system. Xbox, I've just configured CXBX, and I'm curious if actually some of the games will load that I've installed. So, let's see if Colin McRae 4 will actually work. And with Launchbox, a lot of these external emulators will actually auto-populate. Let me see if I do enter. Yeah, might not be widescreen. You could actually set that to remain at the correct aspect ratio, and it doesn't do scaling properly, so it's a bit yeah. So championship, yeah, why not? So this actually is not running on the fastest system in the world. This is running on my old Dell Optiplex, which has an i7 37X or something like that. No, 3700 i7. I'm quite partial to the Impreza. Oh, didn't I just enter my name? Oh, whatever. Of course I'm Dutch. So this CXBX, it does emulation the smart way. It actually does high-level emulation, basically emulating as little as possible, but providing the environment for the games to properly run in. And this actually is much faster on this system than the Zemu emulator, which also is quite a capable system.
Enter 4 left opens and 6 right progress. Enter 4 left.
But yeah, it's actually quite something to actually see this Xbox game running on my old PC. And I'm using an old Xbox. Actually, I'm using my original Xbox 360 controller that I got on launch. It's a white one. And I quite like that white because it reminds me of the Dreamcast. Yeah, so as you can see, it's actually quite decent. What else can I show you? GameCube, why not? So, what is a nice Burnout? I'm always a sucker for Burnout. And I believe I've configured this to run with the Dolphin. Oh no, this is actually running RetroArch. Yeah, RetroArch basically runs just about anything. And it's very easy to set up within Launchbox. Perhaps I should see the controls. Yeah, GameCube controller. That's something, a bit of a thing with RetroArch sometimes. Oh, still no proper controller, GameCube controller. Yeah, it should work. Why doesn't it work? That's weird. Yeah. You know, RetroArch is far from perfect. I'm not sure if I have launch with Dolphin. Oh yeah, Dolphin. Let's run Dolphin. Yeah, and I've configured it with the proper BIOS file, so you actually get the booting GameCube. So So yeah, you can actually have various emulators catering for the games from a certain system. So it could be that with a certain emulator, a certain emulator would work better. So you can actually set the emulator to run per game. No, no autosave file. Continue without saving. Championship. Why not? Red car. Journeyman Grand Prix. And I always was very partial to the game music. And I just love to speed through the traffic. 2, 1, which really gives you a sense of speed. And again, I'm quite partial to the pixelated look of these old 3D games, especially on CRTs. They just look absolutely amazing, very organic. Then the lower resolution just doesn't matter at all. It's just all very organic and everything is very detailed and crisp. I've got a real one hooked up to a JVC CRT. And of course these square pixels captured from an LCD output really doesn't do a type of game like this justice. But yeah, I mean, pretty decent. What else just runs on it? So yeah, you can actually see that going buggy heat. Yeah, why not? Going with the paid version actually pays off. So this is RetroArch. No, this is Redream with some sort of weird small screen thing going on. I'm not sure what's up with that. I guess it doesn't scale. It's running at the default. It's running at the default Dreamcast resolution. It might not scale to full screen. This is actually quite a decent little game. I'm not sure why it wasn't full screen. I guess because I haven't configured it properly. But yeah, you can actually see that Launchbox, BigBox actually provides quite a decent platform to stream. You know, it's not really off-putting to navigate through the game selection. Yeah, but this is quite a decent little game. Genesis. Let me see. I'm always quite partial to Dangerous Seed. Not sure if I have that on here. Might not. No, I just have the. I think I just have the American set on here. PlayStation. Yeah, I'm quite partial to PlayStation, so I've got a ton of games. I ripped a lot of my games on this computer. This is also a very nice little racing game. I've got DuckStation on this, and Mnafen, RetroArch, and this is actually DuckStation running in RetroArch, and it really is very compatible with PlayStation games. Now, for me, I guess around the time of Windows 95, Windows 98, I got into the Xbox because I got fed up with trying to keep up with all these. Let me see. Is the controller? Yeah, none. So this is actually quite a thing with the new RetroArch, that a lot of the controllers aren't properly populated by default, which is odd, which is really odd. And I don't like the pop-up, you know, that you're being told that the memory card is being saved to. Let's do arcade, single race, one player, play as guest, MJ, Mark, John, Peter, Ford Focus, no. Is there a Subaru Impreza? Yes, there is. Automatic, intermediate, Italy, alright. And yeah, I've played this game so much. And of course the PlayStation really shines on a CRT, but yeah, for some reason I selected the analog controller, but the analog mode is not engaged. Oh, whatever. Yeah, and the PlayStation with its bumpy, jumpy graphics, the tittering, it's actually quite a decent little system. And the capture might not show it, but it really is running 60 frames per second. And the cool thing is that I have a monitor that has a 140 Hertz refresh rate with a very low latency, and if you drive your graphics card at 140 Hertz refresh rate, then actually you get very little input lag, so this is actually really feels quite immediate. But yeah, what else? There's a PlayStation 2, and what's a nice game to just be running? Gran Turismo 3. I'm just such a sucker for Gran Turismo 3. I guess because it's arcadey enough to actually still enjoy it. This takes a while because it's a GZ zipped file. But it should boot up because it's compressed, so it makes a little catalog of the contents of the zipped ISO, and you can actually store quite a fair few more games on the system that way. I've seen that there's this SD card interface that actually uses the memory card slot on a PS2, and it basically uses a sort of FreeMcBoot OPL specific, SD specific thingy, and I found that rather amazing. Rally class, of course, the Subaru. The cool thing about the PlayStation 2 emulator is actually that this also can be run from RetroArch, but you can also use the PCSX2 emulator that I'm using, and it has Vulkan support, and that really boosts the graphics quite a fair bit. because this actually runs full speed now, and quite a fair few other games also run full speed that weren't full speed before. And there's just something about these PlayStation games, the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, they really have a special place in my heart. Also, the interlaced graphics seem to be handled a lot better with the Vulkan. Yeah, this is hardly a professional video, but yeah, I've been incredibly busy, so I've not found the time to actually sit down and record a video. And somehow I promised myself I'd actually up the quality of my videos, and that's actually held me back from creating many more new videos, because yeah, my videos are always very ad hoc and just thrown and slapped together. But yeah, but perhaps I just should be content that that's just the way I roll, you know, low production values. So yeah, let me see, escape. It's a bit slower starting the games that way, but yeah, you save a ton of space. Now the PlayStation 3 is also emulated by my system. Let me see, what's a nice game to try. Switchball. I'm always a fan of Switchball, so you just launch Switchball on a 2014 PC with a Core i7 37 something. And it's all just a matter of using the correct command lines, command line commands. A lot of the emulators, they still support that, and you can just launch the emulator with the game file, and it just works. You know, it just starts up the emulator. Actually, basically, Launchbox is like a super fancy batch file. And if you know where the game is, you can actually launch it. Yeah, but this type of integration, you know, this is actually quite nice if you're seated on the couch or in the game room and you don't have a mouse and keyboard to just navigate through it all. Then going big box is actually quite something. The thing is that you don't get big box active when you use the Launchbox freeware version. You get the other one that I showed in the first part of the video. You don't get big box, and I must say getting big box really is worth it. And the rate at which this platform actually supports all these emulators and all these features that are implemented, I think supporting Launchbox, get a license, is actually a very good thing to do. And you can use that same license on more of your systems. You know, I've got several systems in the house, and I don't have a separate license for all the systems that I have, but I don't give my license away. You know, I'm just using that for personal. Yeah, so if I were to say have a game system for another person, yeah, they should get their own license, of course. So yeah, the first time you run these PlayStation 3 games, they are actually recompiled. The sound is recompiled, the math is recompiled, and also the geometry that is used by the graphics card is recompiled, the shaders. But once that's done, and this only happens actually the first time around, once that's done, basically it just runs very smoothly. Now in this emulator I've actually kept the overlay to show you how the game runs, how it functions, what the frame rate is, and a fair few games that don't utilize the PlayStation 3's hardware properly That is, they just have a single game thread and just don't have all too many fancy graphics. Basically, the older games, they run fine on older systems. This emulator, RPCSX3, yeah, I think that's what it's called. It really benefits from multiple cores. So the newer games, they really need to be run on something with 8 threads or even more. Free play. Let's go. I just played this a ton. This is a puzzle game where you guide a marble through a set of floating platforms, and you get dropped off by an airship. You navigate to the end of the platforms, and then you hop onto another airship, and then you just move on. You have a timed mode and you have a free play mode, and yeah, this is using the NVIDIA PhysX engine, which is available as a library on many other operating systems. This basically runs at 30 frames per second, which actually is the default for this game. The thing is that I'm just quite a fan of this generation of consoles, you know, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. What I don't like about these systems is that they basically have a lot of 30 frames per second games, and they have 60 frames per second games, but 30 frames pretty much was standard for a lot of games, and that made a lot of PC gamers pull up their nose, say, well, you know, 30 frames per second, that's just not it. And it shows, I mean, yeah. So you can actually see it just runs quite well. It runs full speed. And you can actually exit the emulator. You can actually have it auto exit. But yeah, this really is quite a fancy, nice little system. You can actually go back and you can go to the desktop mode. Switch to desktop mode. It'll just exit and start the desktop mode. It's 2 separate programs. 12.7. This actually also is available for Android. Yeah, on the desktop you just have this. You can have a what is it? Show game details. It's actually quite interesting. So if you go stand on one of these, then you can actually get some more information. You can get some more screenshots, box art and stuff. If you click again, you can actually navigate through that. So yeah, if you are on the desktop and you have a mouse and keyboard, just great. You know, you can start just about any program. And yeah, it uses a nice database. These games actually all run. There's more games that run, but these actually are Xbox 360 games that basically run. You can play them on your oh wait, let's see how Burnout runs. I just ran Burnout on the GameCube and the Dolphin emulator, and now I'm running it in CXPX. I'm stretching this. Yeah, and basically this just is identical. A lot of these multi-platform games, they ran identical on the consoles. And single race, why not? And I believe it uses the triggers, yeah. The GameCube doesn't use the triggers, it just uses the face buttons, but the Xbox uses the triggers, which is nicer, I think. And you have a more subtle polling of the of the analog stick, you can have very subtle movements, which isn't the case on the GameCube. The GameCube is rather twitchy. And I guess the way that the GameCube sticks are configured, even on real hardware, also on real hardware, is actually a bit too sensitive. Oh, but yeah, original Xbox.